the Chief Director, Strategy and Policy in the Master of the High Court, South Africa. And as I had initially started, we are here for a training webinar on the Deceased Estates online registration system. And before we even share a few facts with you regarding where we come from as the masters and what we've experienced and what we would like to share with you and where we're going. I hope everybody can see my presentation. I am going to go into presentation mode so that everybody can see what I am talking about. And I hope on this platform we have legal practitioners. You were invited specifically for this training webinar because when it was developed, we piloted actually in Johannesburg with us of FISA, so those attorneys that with the Fiduciary Institute would have been part of the pilot. We piloted with members of the Banking Association of South Africa. Also then piloted in Cape Town. The system was piloted in Cape Town. On the 10th of October, the Minister of Justice system in offices being Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, Durban, and I'm happy to announce that the system has since been rolled to all masters offices as well as all master points that are serviced in that. Once again, I seem to have been kicked out of the presentation. As I said, I wanted to share a few things with you. I think number one, it is important that we look at the challenges that have been plaguing the Master's Office. And these are not new. You've raised them before, either with Parliament or you've raised it in different fora, but we've had long queues, unreliable, slow systems, loss of client documents or misplacing of client documents in some cases, poor infrastructure in our offices, and load shedding that continues to plague the whole country has not left us untouched. In several offices, big metros such as Johannesburg, we continue to have load shedding with no backup systems. And we've also been plagued by backlogs in the deceased estates in issuing letters of appointment, letters of authority or executorship. And it is premised on these challenges that we developed 5 key strategic interventions, one of them being the development of the system that you are about to be trained on. But in addition to the challenges that we know, the LSSA or the Law Society of South Africa raised certain challenges with Parliament or with the Portfolio Committee on Justice in October, as well as a follow-up meeting in November. And in terms of the challenges that were raised, it was lack of leadership, lack of service delivery, correspondence that is also not being attended to. I'm not repeating Mr. Hassan Goga's words, but these are some of the challenges that he presented. Unanswered telephones, long delays, email correspondence not being utilized, phones not being answered, officials not being able to be reached, files that are misplaced, queues not sufficiently managed, allegations of bribery, directives that are issued without consultation, and Section 18.3 estates where there is lack of accountability, and insolvency examinations where there is no transparency. We had a look at these challenges and we did an introspection. There are some that we would obviously then say there would be a different response. We did provide a response in Parliament in November. But I think what causes, or what are the root causes of these challenges? As I said, shortages of critical vacancies. We've got two production levels. Our production levels in the Master of the High Court are at two levels, a state controller as well as assistant master. When these levels or these positions are not filled, we then suffer backlogs as well as continued breakdown in service delivery. There's also lack of supervision owing to the fact that we do not have sufficient assistant masters for the supervision, lack of solar inverters, outdated computers, lack of filing space for files, and again, unreliable, unstable network, lack of security cameras. This speaks to the corruption and bribery allegations that have been made. And we dependent in deceased estates 100% on the availability of the Department of Home Affairs' National Population Register in order for us to validate information of the deceased, as well as beneficiaries, and as well as applicants that would be making those applications on behalf of families. And I would assume in this case, not assume, but in this case, legal practitioners would then be making applications on behalf of families, on behalf of companies as well. There's poor communication with clients and negative media reporting. And just to give you a high level in terms of what a deceased estate from a high level perspective, the processes that we follow, as you will see, there is the registration of a deceased estate, which then would be the type whether the person passed on testate, intestate, and also we verify the completeness and accuracy. You would have seen that it's done manually, and with the training that you are going to receive, you would see that that has changed, and all that the completeness and accuracy checks that would have required a lot of manual labor has now been automated into the deceased estate system. And we've got appointment where we then appoint where there's a will in terms of Section 14, we would then am mandated to appoint the executor as nominated by a will, or masters appointed executor in consultation with the family. Then there would be an L&D lodgement, which will speak later. There is distribution, where we issue a notice of distribution, and we then have the finalization of the estate. We've got our suppliers being yourselves, attorneys, fiduciary professionals, other stakeholders. You give us estate documents, wills, sometimes requests for copies. From it, the process output is an LOA, LOE, sometimes a JD4 query, and Section 42.2 endorsements, copies as well. And that is at the high level what the process looks like. The old process looks something like that. This is the old process prior to what you're going to be trained on. You had a walk-in channel, post office, you had then your self-service kiosks in the form of direct access to the relationship of trust between us. We gave you access to our system where you can capture for ourselves. This was also to assist the masters in timings and in expediting some of your matters. These documents would then be manually captured, or the documents that you submit, there would be a manual capturing by an estate controller into ICMS, after which there would be this co-fax scanning that would need to happen of all the manual documents that would have been submitted, cross-reference with the DHA that remains even now. And we would go back into ICMS for your assistant master to approve the application or disapprove the application. The outcome would be a manual file that is created, the brown files that you know, an original will that we would then accept if there is a will, and a manual appointment letter would then be given to you, signed and stamped by the master. So all of that is in the past. And as I said, we looked at strategic interventions, but the strategic interventions that we looked at was the modernization and innovation of ICMS. ICMS being the system that is the core for handling deceased estates. And that included the creation of an online deceased estates registration system, which we have now done and rolled out nationally. The next step is the risk rules engine, which would then automate the L&D or the letters, the liquidation and distribution account. So we are in the analysis and design phase of this, where we gathering requirements regarding the automation of the submission of L&D accounts. We will then keep communications channels open. When we test, we will invite you to the pilots of that. But as it stands now, the first part has been completed. We want to create a master's contact center, a one-stop center where your matters would then be dealt with timelessly, whether it be from an online registration and follow-up, or whether it be a general query resolution. And this might not have access to technology or not have the know-how of how to use technology. We want to acquire third-party data. We've already began with a third-party data acquisition. We began with the DHA. We already going into USIPSIS. We are integrating into the LPC, and you will see as you are being trained on the system that the integration into the LPC verifies the legal professional or the legal practitioner against the LPC database. If you are not a registered legal practitioner on the LPC database, then you would not be able to continue to represent clients on the system that we have developed. We are in the very near future integrating with SARS in terms of deceased estates from an LOE, LOA or appointment point of view, as well as from a state duties point of view. And these are the plans that we have, but we've already started with some of these integration points. Education interventions that we will speak about from an outreach perspective. What we realized is that a lot of people, our clients, do not understand deceased estates and in terms of the requirements that must be met in order for an appointment to be made by the master. And this is where we've already started with the education interventions. And we want to improve environmental factors in our office, including, obviously, curbing load shedding. So now that we've developed the system, where to from here? The where to from here, these are the plans that we've presented to Parliament in November or just right towards the beginning of December. We promised in Parliament that we will roll out the deceased estates online nationally, and that has happened. We had planned to roll it out by January 2024, but we were able to do it earlier by 14th of December 2023. And that has continued in several offices. The only office where an online registration or application has not been made thus far is Polokwane, but all master's office, I can confirm, have registered a deceased estates online. And we had promised again that we would increase visibility and education through training interventions. This is one of them. Training videos that will be made available on social media, Masters Portal. The minute we are done with the webinar today, our public education and communications unit will publish the videos, will publish the videos that would then be these training videos that you will see today. We promised an engagement with the legal fraternity, fiduciary, accounting, and banking industries. We are starting with the legal fraternity or legal practitioners today, and there would definitely be further engagements from a stakeholder point of view that might be chaired by the ministry or even the office of the chief master. Backup power to masters, that is already in plan, and capacitation, the filling of vacant positions, as you would have heard also when we made presentations. We would not be able to fill it with new positions, but our HR division is coming up with innovative solutions in terms of filling the positions and the gaps and the roles or vacancies that are in the master's office. And a master's one-stop query resolution platform, what you will see is there's an incident logging platform that has now been introduced with the Deceased Estates Online. It went live on the 14th of December, where you can log an incident, either IT related or where it is a master's issue. A master's office would then be sent your matter and they would be able to respond to you. And we want to, obviously, ICT transformation and enhancement, and you will then, ICT will speak to that. And just as a disclaimer before the training, I hand over to ICT to give you the training as promised, just as not a disclaimer, but just some of the things that the system would not be able to do for you. A waiver of jurisdiction must still be done in the Master's Office of Jurisdiction, and that matter cannot be handled on the online platform. If you are your client or the deceased rather is it was using an old ID born over 100 years ago, that would not be handled on the online because we are unable to verify old IDs with the Department of Home Affairs. Passport holders as well, at the moment, unable to verify passport numbers with DHA, but that does not mean that we will not do it in future. We have already started engagements on the verification of these two, but as it stands, we are unable to do that. So those three applications, a waiver of jurisdiction, where there's an old ID as well as a passport holder. And just as a side matter, where there are family disputes, it would also be advisable to visit a master's office as opposed to an online, multiple online registration, because it would reject the very next application. And I think I am going to leave it here. Before I leave, just to tell you the order, I have already given you this presentation, after which ICT will take us through the training of the online deceased estates. We will give you about an hour of Q&A. After the hour of questions and answers, we will then answer your questions. In the meantime, there is a Q&A box. Don't write in the chat section. Rather, put your questions in the Q&A box, and we will respond to your questions. With me today is masters of each master's office. All heads of office in master's offices have joined us. Deputy masters in the master's offices have joined. Assistant masters, and in some instances, we've got estate controllers that have joined us. We've also got ICT as well as their partner CETA that have joined us. We have also the Public Education and Communications Unit that have joined us. And should there be any questions, any number of us would be able to respond to your questions. But at the moment, may I encourage everybody to use the Q&A box. We've got Miss Patrice Fenter. If you're looking for her on email, it would be Hester Fenter, who will be manning the Q&A box. But at the same time, each master would be able to respond to their specific questions in the Q&A box. And I thank you, and I hand over to ICT and PEC. Thank you.
Services demonstration. Welcome to the DOJ Online Services demonstration. What is the DOJ Online Services? The Department of Justice has developed an intuitive, easy-to-use web-based platform that provides a gateway to application submission and tracking of some of the services that are rendered by the Department of Justice. Some of these services could be a submission of a maintenance claim, a registration of a deceased estate, protection order and/or a logging of a civil case against either an organization or an individual, essentially giving you the ability to create or submit an application in the comfort of your own home or your work, without having to go into a service point or a court to register those applications. In this demo, I will be demonstrating how you can easily register your profiles to start transacting with the online services. As mentioned, the online portal is a web-based solution, so you can access it using your browser similar to how you would access your email services or your social media platforms. Once you've entered the URL for the online services, you will be directed to the login page as displayed. If you have already registered, you can capture your registration details with your username and password. You can click on the login button to be redirected onto the DOJ Online Platform landing page. But to do that you need to have registered first. How do you register? You register by simply clicking on Register as a new user. On this screen, you will be prompted to capture some specific personal as well as contact information for the correspondence when transacting on the online portal. On your right-hand side, you will notice there is a red asterisk signifying the information is mandatory and requires to be captured before you are able to continue. You will be prompted to indicate if you have a passport or RSA identity. A passport selection will be for non-South African citizens or foreigners that do not have a RSA identity number. For South African citizens, you can easily click on the RSA identity number and then you will be prompted to capture your RSA identity number. Please note when you are capturing your RSA identity number, it needs to be a valid RSA identity number as per your ID book or ID smart card, and the full names and surnames must match as registered with the Department of Home Affairs. This solution provides the facility to validate or verify the details captured against the Department of Home Affairs database. You can easily capture your title from the drop-down provided, enter your full names and surnames. You will then need to enter your cell phone number. Please note that you will need access to this cell phone because this is utilized as a verification before finalizing your registration process. If you do not have an email address, kindly uncheck the box for, do you have an email address, yes/no? You will then be prompted to capture a unique username that will be used when logging back onto the online portal. If you do have an email address, keep the checkbox checked and capture your email address. Your email address can either be your personal or work email address depending on how you want to transact. You will then be prompted to confirm your email address by capturing it again to ensure that those details are correct. For your password, the following applies. Must have at least one uppercase, at least one lowercase, at least one special character, and at least one numeric value. Create your password and confirm by capturing the same password again, and finally clicking on Register. This then will create your individual profile with all your information that was captured, and will direct you to the home page of the online portal. You are then required to verify your email address. The online portal is a secured web application where all the details that you have captured need to be verified. There are 2 steps of verification. If you have created your profile with an email address, you will be prompted to verify that email address. You will get a notification that an email has been sent to your registered account. The second step is to verify your cell phone number by clicking on the Verify Cell Phone Number button. This will trigger a one-time PIN to your registered cell phone number where you will be prompted to enter the PIN. Enter the one-time PIN that you have received and click on Verify. A notification will be displayed confirming that your cell phone number has been verified. Kindly access your mailbox from your email service provider. You will find the email verification from DOJ Online. Please note that if you have not received your verification email, kindly check in your junk email or deleted items if your email has not been placed in one of these folders. Simply click on the Verify email link and you will be redirected to the online services home or landing page with an email confirmation indicating that your email address was successfully verified. Upon successful verification of both email and cell phone number, click on Home on the left-hand menu bar where you will then be prompted to enter your residential address. Kindly note you will not transact until you have captured your residential address. Your residential address is utilized for your jurisdiction, especially when you are transacting as an individual. To do that, simply click on Verify Residential Address, where your profile detail screen which displays your personal information, your contact details that was captured during the registration process. To easily add your address information, click on Add Address. Select the address type, which in this case is the residential address. Address line 1 represents your street address. Address line 2 represents your suburb. Select your province and then city, which is filtered based on the province that has been selected, and finally your postal code. Click on the Add button. A notification will appear indicating that your address has been successfully created. You do have the ability to also edit by clicking on the Edit or Delete icon. You then click on Home. You will then notice that all of the verification details have disappeared, indicating that you are now ready to transact. To transact, simply click on the different services. That brings the demonstration to an end for the registration process on the DOJ Online website.
Welcome to the DOJ Online Services Profile Creation demonstration. In this video, we will walk you through how you can register to transact as a representative of a company, otherwise known as an entity, and/or as a representative of a law firm or a legal practitioner, otherwise known as a service provider. In order to go through the registration process, you would have needed to have registered with your account information and gone through the registration process. What you see is the login screen, and because you have successfully registered, you will be able to capture your login details to access the online portal. Enter your email address or username and password that you registered with to login. Click the Login button. This will take you to the online services landing page. On this page, on the left-hand pane, you will notice a profile menu item. To expand, click on the arrow facing down, then you can click on My Profiles. On My Profiles, all profile information is displayed that you have access to, either through the registration process, which is the individual user that you can see in front of you, which gets automatically created when you go through the registration process, or information around other profiles that have given you a request to have access to them, either from the profile I am invited to, or cases that you have been invited to, or are involved in. This just gives you a profile audit of all profiles and cases you have access to. To transact as an entity or representative of an organization, you can easily click on the Create a New Profile link. You will be prompted to capture the following information. For the profile type entity, this represents profiles created indicating that you want to transact as a representative of an organization. This information captured is validated and verified against the Company and Intellectual Property Commission (CIPC). The information that you capture needs to correspond to what is on the CIPC database. Indicate the province of where this entity resides. Capture the entity's organization name, which essentially is your enterprise's name. One thing to note is when you are capturing, this information has to be exactly the same as it is registered on the CIPC database. Because we want to validate the entity against the CIPC board, select CIPC option under Registration Board.
You then need to capture the entity registration number, which is your enterprise registration number. So I am capturing my registration number for my company or organization, as well as the tax number of the entity or organization as registered on CIPC. Once I have captured all of the information, I simply click on Create Profile. When I click on the Create Profile, what then happens is the client services is going to validate all of the information that has been captured against the CIPC database. What you see now is a validation error where the organization name does not match the business name for the registration number, which means I captured the information incorrectly. I will capture the correct information and click again on the Create Profile. Once I have captured the correct, I will receive a notification indicating that my entity profile has been successfully created. I click on Continue, and automatically my new entity profile has been added to the list of profiles that I can transact with. So if I want to transact on the entity I have created, all I have to do is easily click on the checkbox right here. I get a confirmation message asking if I am sure I want to switch to this profile. I simply click on Yes. I then get a successful notification that I have successfully switched profile to entity. I click on Continue. On the top right-hand corner, you will notice your entity name that you have created, signifying which profile you are transacting on. So any case application that I create, I am then creating this as a representative of the entity profile. Now if I am a legal practitioner, and I want to transact as a legal practitioner on the online solution, I go through the same process of creating a new profile with two main differences in terms of a verification. I click on Create New Profile. I select the service provider profile type. Remember, service provider represents legal practitioners that are transacting as essentially lawyers or attorneys on the DOJ online services. I select where my law firm actually resides under province. I capture my law firm's name. I capture my law firm number that is registered on the LPC database. So the LPC is the Legal Practice Council, LPC, database, which holds all of the information around the legal practitioners within the borders of South Africa. So the information captured needs to be exactly the same as registered on the LPC database. The LPC member number is now the member number for my legal practitioner, and then I capture the work email address. This email address is the email address that is captured on the LPC database. One thing to note is that you must have access to this email mailbox, because there is a verification process that will be executed before you have access to transact against this profile being created. And then I can easily click on Create Profile. So what this is going to do is to validate all of the information that was captured against the LPC database. Once this has been successfully validated, a one-time PIN is then sent to that work email address. You then need to access your email mailbox, where you will receive an email notification from the DOJ online services as displayed on the screen, with the one-time PIN information. Copy this one-time PIN and paste or enter the OTP on the DOJ Online Services portal, and simply click on Confirm. Once it is confirmed, a notification will be displayed indicating that the service provider profiles has been successfully created. Click on Continue, and you can now start transacting as a legal practitioner. How do you switch to your service provider profile? It is the same approach where you easily click on the checkbox next to Service Provider. A confirmation message will appear, you indicate yes, and a notification will appear indicating that you have successfully switched to your service provider profile. Click on Continue, and you will see your service provider name will appear on the top right-hand corner. That brings us to the end of the demonstration, where you have learned how to create a profile for an entity as transacting as a representative of an organization, and creating a profile for a service provider to transact as a legal practitioner representing a legal law firm.
Welcome to DOJ Online Services Deceased Estate Application Demonstration. In this video you will learn how to easily complete and submit a deceased estate application to the Department of Justice back office for processing. To access the DOJ Online Services platform, you need to be a registered user with valid and verified credentials. Enter your email address or username that you registered with, as well as your password to log in to the DOJ Online Services platform. Once you've captured your email address and password, please click on the Login button, and you will be redirected to the landing page. On the landing page you will have a view of all the services that you can complete an application for. The profile speaks to what you are going to be transacting as when you are making an application. Let's have a quick recap on the different types of profiles and what they represent. An individual user is you transacting on your personal capacity. An entity is you transacting as a representative of an organization or a company. A service provider is you transacting as a representative of a law firm as a legal practitioner. For this demonstration, we will be transacting as a service provider. To transact as a legal practitioner, you can simply click on the checkbox for the service provider for you to switch your profile to the service provider role. You will be prompted with a confirmation about switching your profile. Click on the Yes button to proceed with the switching of profile. Once the profile has been switched to your service provider profile, a confirmation message will be displayed indicating that your request to switch to service provider profile has been successfully processed. Simply click on Continue to start transacting as a service provider. To complete a deceased estate application, simply expand the Masters of the High Court Services menu item and select Deceased Estate. Once you have clicked on the deceased estate, you will be redirected to your deceased estate case history page, where you have a view of all the cases that you submitted or completed using the profile that you are transacting on. To register an application, simply click on the hyperlink Register a New Death Notice/application. A confirmation notification will be displayed indicating that you are transacting on your service provider profile. Do you wish to continue? Simply click on Yes to proceed. Next you will be prompted with a questionnaire that just gives you a view of the required information that will help in fast-tracking the application process for the submission. You can indicate that all of the information that is required is available by simply clicking on the radio buttons, and click on the Accept button to proceed. The deceased estate application process then gives you a breakdown of different information that correspond to different sections of the application that is required for submission. These are represented as different tabs in a wizard view. Let's have a look at each tab. The Deceased Details tab talks to the information around the deceased that you are making the application for. The applicant information talks to the next of kin, or the relative of the deceased, or the person that is requesting this deceased estate application. Next of kin details, as the name implies, is all of the deceased's next of kin relations, from the spouse to the children or other parties. The assets and liabilities gives you the ability to capture all the assets and liabilities for the deceased. The executor information is the information around the person that is executing the deceased application. This could be the applicant, it could be the next of kin, or it could be a representative of an organization depending on your deceased application. Supporting Documents tab provides the facility for you to download, print, sign and upload supporting documents that must be accompanied with your deceased application for successful processing. Let us start with capturing the information. On the deceased detail, you will notice a couple of things. Number 1, you will notice a red asterisk next to each control indicates that they are mandatory. And labels on the form itself gives you information around what type of information should be captured for a successful deceased application. Capture the ID number of the deceased. Please note this ID number needs to be the ID number as per the Department of Home Affairs. So, the ID number needs to correspond with the ID number in the deceased green book or the deceased smart ID card. The full names and the surname needs to correspond with the information registered on the deceased green book or smart ID card. Capture the full names and surnames. You need to then capture the place of birth of the deceased, as well as the population group and occupation where applicable. You do notice that there is no red asterisk next to the population group and occupation, which signifies that these are not mandatory fields. You must indicate the marital status of the deceased, as well as the marriage type if the deceased was married, and the place where the deceased was married. You need to indicate the date of death of the deceased. This cannot be a future date, must be a date in the past and must correspond with the date on the death notice. Select yes or no if there is a will available. If you select yes, you will be prompted to capture the will information. If you select no, you do not need to capture the will information. I am going to select yes for the purposes of the demonstration. You then need to indicate if the will is a joint will or not. Simply click on the Add Will button to add the will information that is available for the deceased. Indicate the status of the will which is pending, the number of pages of the will, and the date the will was signed. Please note that the date will signed cannot be after the deceased date of death. Once you've captured all the information, simply click on Add to continue. As indicated, the date will signed cannot be after the deceased date of death. Let's correct that date and click on Add to continue. Once you click on the Add button, the information is added to the table, where you can edit using the edit icon or delete using the delete icon. You will be prompted to indicate that the will you have added is a must will or not. If you select yes, you will be prompted to add the must party. If no is selected, you will not need to capture the must party information. Lastly, on the Deceased Details tab, you will be requested to add the residential address that must be the residential address 12 months prior to the deceased death. This information is critical for the jurisdiction of the deceased application. Click on Add Address and select Residential Address Type. You need to capture the residential address line 1, representing the street address or complex address. The residential address line 2 talks to the suburbs. Select the applicable province where the deceased resides, then the city which is filtered based on the province selected. Once the city has been selected, a notification will appear highlighting the master's office where this application will be dealt with, and displays the master office for future correspondence. Simply complete the Add Residential Address by selecting the postal code and click on Add. Once you've added the address information, the captured information will be displayed in the table grid where you can edit or delete by clicking on the icons under Manage. Click on the linked master office that will be handling your application due to the residential address that has been captured. Once all of this information has been captured, you can easily click on the Next button and you will be navigated to the Applicant Information tab. In this tab, you will be required to capture the information of the person requesting the application to be processed. You need to capture the identity number of the applicant, the full names and the surname. The information captured in the full names and the surnames must correspond with the Department of Home Affairs database. Enter the ID number, the full names and surnames of the applicant identification document. You need to indicate if the applicant was a signatory present at death. If the answer is yes, you need to indicate the method of notice. If the answer is no, you need to indicate if the signatory identified the deceased. Easily select on yes or no if the signatory identified the deceased. You need to indicate the method of notice, if this was a court order or a death notice. If you select a court order on presumption of death, you need to indicate what court was this order granted in and date that it was captured. If you indicate that the method of notice was a death certificate, you can then proceed to select the signatory relationship with deceased. This here indicates what is the relationship of the applicant with the deceased. You can then indicate the applicant's preferred method of communication. This is also important because this is how the correspondence is going to work if the applicant is the executor of the estate. Next, you need to add the applicant's residential address, where you capture the details similar to how you capture the deceased residential address details, by indicating the address line 1 and 2 where applicable. Easily select the province, then the city. Once added, the information is added to the table where you have the option to either edit or delete the information captured by simply clicking on the edit or delete icons. If the applicant is also the executor of the estate, you need to then indicate yes on the question, is executor. If yes is selected, this then pre-populates the applicant's information into the executor table for you to update on the executor information tab. Once you are happy with all the information on the tab, simply click on Next to continue. Kindly note each time you navigate by clicking on Next to the next tab, the system automatically saves the previous tab's information. Upon clicking on the Next button, and you are not able to proceed, scroll to the top of the page to check that there are no validation errors on the screen itself. The validation error message I have it the ID number, you then need to correct the ID number that has been captured because the ID number needs to correspond with the Department of Home Affairs database. I will just verify all the information that has been captured and simply click on the Next button to proceed. You will then be redirected to the Next of Kin tab where you can then capture the spouse, the children, or the children descendants, or the parents' details as the next of kins to the deceased. Each of these have a specific category, so the first category is the spouse's category, so the spouse of the deceased. The next category is the child of the deceased, the next category is the deceased children descendants, so the children of the deceased children. The next category is the spouse's children, the parents' details and finally the other party details. You will notice that there is a drop-down next to each of these categories which allows you to easily classify the next of kin details. To capture the next of kin details, you need to select the drop-down first of each category and click on the button next to the drop-down. Once you select the Add button next to the drop-down, a secondary view will be displayed where you are prompted to capture the personal details as well as contact details for the next of kin. For the identity type you can select either an RSA identity number, a passport, or an old RSA identity number. As per the standard for the online services portal, it needs to be a valid identity number corresponding to the Department of Home Affairs database. I can then capture the full names and surnames, again as per the Department of Home Affairs database. I then need to indicate the life status of the person if they are deceased or alive. If they are deceased, I have an option to capture the estate that was registered, which will be a list of all the master's offices where deceased applications are processed. I can indicate the date of death, the estate number and the master office name. Please note that all these fields are not mandatory as they do not display the red asterisk signifying mandatory fields. You can then capture the address information for the next of kin by capturing the address lines in the same format as you captured the applicant and deceased address details. Simply select the province, city, postal code and then click on Add. You also have to indicate to advise if this next of kin that is being added is nominated to also be an executor of the estate. You can click on Yes if they are or No if they are not. Simply click on the Add button to add the next of kin details, which will then be populated into the next of kin grid against the category selected. Once it is added, it will scroll to the added information in the applicable table grid. Again, you have the ability to edit or delete the information by simply clicking on the edit or delete icons. You can capture multiple next of kins based on the different categories that exist. You can capture a child next of kin details. You can capture the spouse children next of kin details. You can capture the parents details and/or the other party details. Other parties will be relations like your uncle, your aunt, your grandfather, your grandmother, half-brother, or your half-sister of the deceased. Simply click on Next to proceed to the Assets and Liabilities tab. On this tab you capture all of the assets and the liabilities for the deceased. You are prompted to capture the estimated estate value, as well as a breakdown of all the different assets that exist for the deceased. Here you can capture information around the properties that the deceased may have had, the immovable assets representing properties, or movable assets representing cars, etc., or any other investments that the deceased had. So you are prompted to capture all the information, as this has a bearing on the deceased estate application. So I will capture two assets by capturing all the information. As you can see, the asterisk next to each control indicating it is mandatory information. For the value, you need to capture and confirm that value again to ensure you don't make a mistake when capturing the value of the estate. You can capture multiple types of assets that will be added to the estimated estate value. You can also add the associated liabilities for the deceased by capturing the institution, the value of the liability as well as confirming the value. The liabilities also allows you to capture multiple entries of liabilities for the deceased. With both the assets and liabilities that have been added, you have the ability to edit or delete the information by simply clicking on the edit or delete icon next to the assets or liabilities in the associated grids. Once you are happy with all the information that is captured, you can easily click again on the next button where you will be redirected to the Executor Information tab. This is where you capture who is executing the estate. The information is pre-populated here because on the Applicant Information tab, we had indicated that the applicant is the executor. You will need to indicate if the executor is ready for appointment. If you select No, you will need to provide the reason for not appointing. If they are ready for the appointment, then you can simply select Yes. Because the applicant is also the executor of the estate, the details have been pre-populated in the Executor Details table below. You need to edit the details. You can click on the Edit icon, where you will then be prompted to complete information on the Executor Details. Notice the items that are highlighted indicates that these are mandatory fields that have to be completed before you can proceed. The first thing you need to capture is the application category. If the applicant is the executor, you need to indicate that the applicant is the executor. If the applicant is represented by an agent, typically the applicant wants to hand over to an agent to help them administer the application. You need to indicate they are represented by an agent. If the application is being executed by an organization or a trust or a nominee of that organization or a trust, you will select nominee of organization or trust. Select the appropriate application category. In this case, because the applicant is an executor, the selection will be applicant is executor. There needs to be an indication if the applicant is exempted from providing a security bond. If yes is selected, then you need to select which grounds you were exempted. Alternatively, if no is selected, the security amount is then pre-populated from the estimated estate value. This security amount cannot be updated as it is pre-populated from the estimated estate value on the Assets and Liabilities tab. On the Executor Details, the personal information is auto-populated from the Applicant tab. You need to indicate the preferred method of communication. You can indicate the master box number if you have access to it. The organization name and organization number is only required to be captured when the application category selected is a nominee of an organization or trust. This application is not the case because the applicant is the executor. You will then be prompted to indicate if the executor is renouncing. This scenario is if the executor is represented by an agent or a correspondent. If they are represented by an agent, you need to indicate that they are renouncing. And is applicant represented by agent is yes. If they are not renouncing, just indicate by simply checking no, and if they are not represented by an agent, simply check no. You also need to indicate that this executor is the primary executor or not. If they are, select yes. If they are not, select no. In this case, I am selecting yes. Then, because the preferred method of communication is email, I need to add a contact email to proceed. Capture the valid email address and simply click on Add to proceed. To complete the executor details, you need to add the postal address by clicking on Add Address. Select postal address as the address type and capture the information similar to the other tabs on this deceased application. Click on Add to add the postal address. There is not requirement to add the correspondence summary or agent summary details because the executor is not renouncing and the executor is not represented. You will only need to capture that information if the executor is represented by an agent or is renouncing. Simply click on the Update button to save the information captured. If you are not able to proceed, scroll to the top to view any validation messages that are displayed. The validation message that has been triggered is signatory to death notice, also the executor. Simply select yes or no and then update the executor information details. This information is then added onto the grid where you have the option to either edit or delete the information by select the edit or delete icon in the grid. You have the ability to select multiple executors for the deceased application by simply clicking on the Add Executor Details. To proceed, simply click on Next button. You will then be prompted to the Supporting Document tabs and an alert notification will be displayed indicating all the required documentation based on the information that you have captured on the deceased estate. Some of these are structured documents, which are documents that will be auto-populated based on the information captured and can be downloaded, signed, and uploaded back into the solution prior to submission. Simply click on the Continue button, and you will notice the structured documents that could be required for the application. To get a reminder of the documents that are required, click on the Submit button and you will receive the same notification when landing on the Supporting Document tab. So you've got the J190, the J294, and the J243 for this application. So let's go and download those documents. The J294, the J243, as well as the J190. So when you click on the download buttons, you will notice that the documents automatically downloaded onto your computer. You can easily click on the downloaded documents to see the contents of the information that were downloaded. You will notice that the documents are pre-populated with all of the information that was captured for your convenience, and an indication on the document will show where you need to print, sign and re-upload back onto the solution. Ensure that all of the documents that you have downloaded are printed, signed and uploaded. To add supporting documents to your application, easily click on the Add Document and click on the Choose Files for you to choose the files to upload. The Choose File button will open your File Explorer on your computer or laptop where you can select where those files reside that you've downloaded or stored. The solution also provides you with the ability to select multiple documents/files residing in a specific location by left-clicking and holding the Control button to select multiple documents. Once you've selected all of them, you click on OK. All these documents will be added to the grid where you then need to select the category of the document type. For the J190, you need to scroll to find the J190 type. For the J243, follow the same by scrolling and selecting the category type of the document. Then the J294 by scrolling and selecting the J294 document type. So you will perform these steps until you have uploaded all of the documents that are required before you can proceed. To always check which documents are still outstanding, you can simply click on Submit button for a prompt of the outstanding required documents still to be added. So we need to attach the death certificate, the deceased ID, the applicant ID, the next of kin ID for spouse wife, the marriage certificate and a copy of the will. So we will now add all those documents by selecting Choose Files again and uploading all those documents to the application, and perform the same steps until we have all of our documents added. We need the deceased ID, and then I will select multiple documents so that we can proceed. We then need to categorize our documents by selecting the corresponding document type, and then add them to our documentation pack as our supporting documents. Only for the next of kin ID or passport will you be prompted to capture the relationship to the deceased for that next of kin document. Because we captured the next of kin spouse details, we need to indicate that the relationship is the spouse and wife of the deceased. I am going to classify the remaining documents as the will and the death certificate. We click on the Add button and continue with these steps until all of our required documents are downloaded, signed, where applicable, and uploaded. We click on the Submit button to verify if there are any remaining supporting documents to be added. In this case, it is the marriage certificate that still needs to be added. Simply click on Continue and add the marriage certificate, the same process as the previous documents that were added. Finally, click on Add, and now all the documents that have been added appear in the supporting document grid. And now we can click on Submit to submit our application. On submission, you are prompted with a disclaimer for you to read thoroughly and click on Accept to continue with the submission of your application. Lastly, a confirmation notification will appear, prompting you if you would like to continue with the submission of your application. Simply select Yes to continue, and your application gets submitted. Once that application has been processed, you will be presented with your unique reference number, URN, that you will be utilized for all future correspondence relating to this application and that your application has been submitted successfully. You are then redirected to the deceased estate landing page where the case information is displayed in the registered applications grid. You can easily look for updates on your case by simply clicking on the hyperlink of the application status, where you will get a view of the history of the application and where it is within the application process. That brings us to the end of this deceased estate application. In this demonstration you have learned how to complete and submit a deceased application as a legal practitioner and submit the application to the back office. Welcome to the DOJ Online Services Deceased Estate Rework demonstration.
In this video, you will learn how to resubmit an application that has failed the screening verification process from the Department of Justice back office. To access the DOJ Online Services, you need your credentials that you created during the registration process. Simply capture your email address or your username, depending on what you chose, during the process and enter your password, and click on the Login button. You will then be redirected to the DOJ Online Services landing page. Depending on the profile that you utilize to create your deceased estate application, you need to ensure you are transacting on that profile. To do this, need to expand Profile on the menu bar and select My Profiles. To switch to the profile that you submitted your deceased application, click on the checkbox next to the profile that was used. My application that was submitted was with my entity profile. Upon checking the checkbox, a confirmation message will appear asking if I am sure I want to switch to this profile. I simply click on Yes to continue. You will then get another confirmation message indicating that your request to switch to the entity profile has been successfully processed. Click on Continue to proceed. To access your deceased estate applications, on the menu bar on the left-hand pane, expand the menu item for Masters of the High Court Services, and select Deceased Estate. Your reworked application will be displayed in the grid of your registered applications. To complete and submit your reworked application, simply click on the Edit icon. An alert message will be displayed with the rework reason and what needs to be corrected. The DOJ back office would have indicated, in the rework reason, for failed screening/verification process. Take special note of this rework reason to ensure that all the requested information is corrected to continue with your application. In this case, the rework reason indicates that incorrect documents were attached, and that applicant information is not the same as the applicant identification document that was attached. Simply click on the Continue button to continue. You then have access to update the information on all tabs, with the ability to navigate through the different tabs, by simply clicking on each of the tab headings. All the information that was previously captured is reflected accordingly on each tab. You should then navigate to the specific tab where the screening/verification failed, and update the information before resubmitting the application. In this case, the information that needed to be updated is on the Supporting Documents tab, so you can easily navigate to the Supporting Documents tab where you need to upload the correct applicant ID based on the rework reason. To upload a new document, you can click on the Add Document button, click on the Choose Files, which will then open up your Explorer on your computer or laptop or cell phone. Simply navigate to where the correct document resides that you may have scanned or saved. Click on OK. You then classify the document by selecting the document type, and simply click on Add to add the document. Once you are happy with your updates, you can scroll down and simply click on Submit to resubmit your application. You will then be prompted again with the disclaimer notice. Pay attention and read and understand the disclaimer. Simply click on Decline if you do not wish to continue, or to accept to proceed with your resubmission of your application. A confirmation notification will be displayed to confirm if you wish to continue with the submission of your application. Simply click on Yes to proceed. You will then receive another alert notification indicating that your application with your reference number has been successfully submitted. Click on OK to continue. That brings us to the end of this demonstration. In this demonstration, you've learned how to easily access failed screening/verification applications from the DOJ back office, and how to resubmit your application for processing.
Welcome to the DOJ Online Services Status Tracking demonstration. In this video, you will learn how a registered and verified user has the ability to track their submitted application status online. To access the DOJ Online platform, simply capture your email or username that was chosen during the registration process and enter your password. To continue, click on the login page. You will then be redirected to the DOJ Online Services landing page. On the left-hand page, you will notice a status tracking menu item. Simply expand and click on Case Status Tracking. You will then be redirected to the status tracking screen. This feature provides you with the search criteria, with an option to search by your unique reference number, URN, or your ID number/passport number of your application that was previously submitted. Simply enter the value, which would be your URN number in this case, and click on Search to continue, or Clear to cancel. Upon clicking on Search, if the search is successful, the application case will be displayed in the grid displayed below. You are presented with the unique reference number, the service type, which will be the service that you actually applied for. The application date and time, representing the date and time the application was created. The latest status of the application and the corresponding status date and time. To access the audit view, simply click on the status hyperlink, which will redirect you to the milestone summary screen display. On this page, you are provided with details of the application, for instance your unique reference number, the ID number, which is the ID number of the deceased, as well as the service type that the application was created from. Beneath that, you will notice a flow of activities with associated date and timestamps displayed in a chronological order from the earliest to the latest. Each row represents the application outcome with the date and timestamp when that status was reached. The highlighted status in green provides you with the latest status with the latest application outcome that has been reached for this application. The DOJ Online platform also gives you access to this milestone summary from the left-hand pane by expanding the Masters of the High Court services in this scenario, and you can click on the Deceased Estate Service menu. In the Registered Applications grid, you will notice the application status of each of your applications that you have either created or submitted. If you click on the hyperlink of the application status, you will then be redirected to the same milestone summary screen display, providing you with the audit history of the application in the same flow of activities with associated date and timestamps displayed in a chronological order from the earliest to the latest, that is applicable for this particular case application.
That brings us to the end of the demonstration. In this demonstration, you have learned how to view the status tracking of your case application through the status tracking menu panel, or by viewing the list of your applications on the services where the application was created.
Welcome to DOJ Online Appointment Booking Demonstration. In this video, we will walk you through how you can book an online appointment as an individual or company representative. To go through the booking process, you would need to be registered with your account details and gone through the registration process. What you see here is the login screen, and because you have successfully registered, you will be able to enter your login details. Enter your email address or username and your password that you registered with to log into the DOJ Online services. Once the details are captured, please click on the Login button. This will take you to the DOJ Online services landing page. On this page, on the left-hand side, you will notice menu items. To expand, click on the arrow facing down on Appointment Booking. Click on Appointment Booking, and that will take you to Online Appointment Booking page. Please select Individual if you want to make an appointment as an individual user. Or, please select Company/Entity Representative as a company or entity representative. Please select Make a New Appointment. To make a new appointment, easily click on Clear to clear the information captured, or easily click on Next to continue with the appointment booking. You will then be directed to the Complete Individual Information screen, where all your individual information that was created during the registration process has been auto-populated into the appropriate fields for your convenience. Please capture any information that is not auto-populated to proceed with the appointment booking. To clear, easily click on the Clear button to clear all the information that has been captured, or easily click on the Previous button to navigate back to the previous screen. To proceed with the appointment booking, please click on the Next button. You will then be directed to the appointment booking information landing page, where you need to capture the appointment booking related information. Please select the service type. Please select the appointment type. Please select the reference number which would normally be associated with your case that was registered, otherwise known as your unique reference number, URN. Next, select the province in which you would like to make an appointment in, and then select the applicable master's office, which is filtered based on the province that was selected. Select the date on which you want to make an appointment, the available time slots for that date, and the master's office selected will then be displayed. Please select the suited available time slot. To clear, easily click on the Clear button to clear all the information that was captured, or easily click on the Previous button to navigate back to the previous screen. To proceed with the appointment booking, please click on the Submit button. You will then be directed to the Checklist Documents pop-up, where you can see the required documents for your appointment booking. You can preview the documents or download the documents. Once the documents have been previewed or downloaded, you can click on OK to submit the appointment. A confirmation notification will be displayed with your appointment booking reference number. Please note the reference number. Easily click on the Continue button to proceed. A notification pop-up will then be displayed indicating your appointment details for the appointment booking that has been made. Click on OK button to proceed. You will also receive an email notification from the DOJ Online Services with the appointment details. In addition, you will also receive an email invitation with the date and time that has been scheduled. You do not have to accept this invitation, however, you will receive an email notification from the master office when they accept your booking. We have covered the process of making a new appointment. Now you will see how to amend an existing appointment. To amend an existing appointment, easily select the checkbox for an individual if you have already made an appointment as an individual user. Or, please select Company or Entity Representative if you have already made an appointment as a company or entity representative. Please select Amend an Appointment to amend an appointment. Easily click on the Clear button to clear the information that has been captured. Alternatively, click on the Next button to proceed with amending your appointment. You are then directed to the Amend Appointment Booking screen, where you can search for the appointment using an ID number or passport number, or a reference number. I will select a reference number, then you need to enter your reference number here. Easily click on the Clear button to clear the information that has been captured. Alternatively, click on the Search button to search for your reference number. Your appointment booking details will then be displayed based on the reference number that was searched upon. Please click on the hyperlink of the reference number in the table displayed to amend the appointment booking. Upon clicking on the reference number hyperlink, you will then be redirected to the appointment booking information screen, where you can amend the details of the appointment. Please continue amending the details of the appointment. Easily click on the Clear button to clear the information that has been captured. Alternatively, click on the Submit button to continue with the amendment of your booking. Once you click on the Submit button, you then be redirected to the checklist documents screen, where you can preview or download the checklist documents. Once the documents have been previewed or downloaded, easily click on the OK button to proceed. Your appointment booking reference number will then be displayed. Please click on the Continue button to proceed. A further confirmation will be displayed reflecting your appointment details have been updated. Please click on OK to continue. You will also receive an email notification with the updated details. You do not have to accept this invitation, however, you will receive an email notification from the master office when they accept your amended booking. Now we will proceed with how to cancel an existing appointment. If you want to cancel an appointment that was created as an individual user, please select Individual checkbox. Please select Company or Entity Representative if you want to cancel an appointment that was created at a company or an entity representative. Easily select Cancel an appointment. Easily click on the Clear button to clear the information that you have captured. Alternatively, click on the Next button to continue with canceling your appointment. You will then be redirected to the Cancel Appointment Booking screen, where you can search for an appointment by using the ID number/passport number or your booking reference number. Enter your reference number. If you searched using the reference number of enter the ID number/passport number. Easily click on the Clear button to clear the information that has been captured. Alternatively, select the Search button to view the appointment information based on the search criteria value. Then click on the booking reference number hyperlink to continue with the cancellation of the appointment. A confirmation will appear asking if you are sure you want to cancel the appointment booking with the reference number selected. Easily click on No if you have changed your mind on cancelling your appointment. Alternatively, click on Yes if you want to continue with the cancellation of your appointment. An alert notification will then be displayed with confirmation that your booking has successfully been cancelled. In addition, you will also receive an email notification indicating that you have cancelled your appointment with the appointment details. This brings us to the end of this demonstration, where you have learned how to book an appointment as an individual user or company/entity representative.
We seem to have come to the end of our videos, our training videos, and I will now allow questions and answers by way of raising hands. I will be monitoring the hands as they go up. At the moment, we've only got one hand from Yodwa Sambo. We've got Ines Esmeraldo, Aisha, then somebody named Administrator, Atisha Geller, Tracy Golding, Walder Creel, in that order, please, for now. But before I do that, I just need to allow Yodwa Sambo to speak. Ines Esmeraldo, I will elevate you now. Sianda, if you could just give me rights to allow people to speak. Sianda, please give me permission to allow people to speak, or please elevate Yodwa Sambo to panelist so she can speak, or he can speak. Mr. Sbia, are you able to hear me? Am I audible? Mr. Sbia? Can any of the panelists please tell me if they can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, advocate can hear you also.
Thank you. Mr. Sbia, please elevate, let Ms. or Mr. Yodwa Sambo to speak. PEC? Or please make me co-host so I can allow people to speak. You have not made me co-host. Mr. Sbia? Apologies, just give us a few seconds for Mr. Sbia to sort himself out and allow people to speak. I have now allowed Mr. or Ms. Yodwa Sambo promote to panelist. Please go ahead, Mr. or Ms. Yodwa Sambo. Unmute yourself. Okay, they have disappeared. Ines Esmeralda, I've allowed you to talk.
Can you hear me?
Unmute. Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
I've just got 3 questions. I've attempted to verify my mobile. The OTP does pop up on the screen, but I'm not receiving the OTP on my mobile.
Are you not receiving your OTP on your mobile phone?
Yes.
Okay, Miss, I'm going to give that question. Please complete your questions. Miss Belinda Crocamp will answer your question on the OTP from ICT. And the next question.
The next question is, if I'm appointed as agent, do I complete as an entity profile or service provider?
If you're a legal practitioner, you have to complete it as a service provider.
Even if we're appointed as agent?
There would be a space where you would select that you're appointed as an agent.
Okay, perfect. Then my last one is the old submission where we've already applied in person. Can we also do a booking for those matters, those estates?
Yes, so the booking in terms of appointment, see somebody in the master's office is not only reserved for the online matters. So you can make an appointment booking for an old matter.
Okay, that's perfect.
May I ask then Ms. Crocamp to then answer your question on your OTP that you have not received. Belinda, please unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, Esmeralda. Did you receive your email verification and you're just waiting for your OTP to verify your cell phone number?
Yes, I've completed the email section and it shows me verify OTP and it gives that space for me to complete the OTP, but the problem is I'm not getting the OTP to the number that I've typed in.
Okay. Can I please ask you if you can please send the query to DOJ&CD online
Yes,
support, one word,
yes.
at justice.gov.za, and then we'll attend to your issue.
Okay, thank you so much.
And we'll just check to see if your cell phone number hasn't been entered incorrectly, but we will address it straight after.
Perfect, thank you so much.
It's a
Welcome.
pleasure. And it's Aisha or Ayesha. Please proceed. I've allowed you to talk. Unmute yourself. Please proceed, Aisha. Okay, I'm going to move. Aisha is not speaking. Something has happened with their mic. Tracy Golding, I am giving you permission to talk, and I've asked you to unmute. Tracy Golding, please continue.
Hi, good day. I'd like to know if you're working for the accountants and one of the auditors in the firm, they are the executor. But so what kind of profile do I create? Do I create a profile for him, for the executor, or can we use like a company profile? And then how do we go about that? Because I've created a profile, but I obviously have created a personal profile.
I'm going to ask Ms. Patrice Venter to respond to your question, but I'm going to take further questions. Maybe let's take the next three. Your question will be answered. I hope Ms. Venter has taken note of your question. I know she has. We'll come back to you. Thank you. We'll respond to you. And I now move to Aurelia Duplessis. Aurelia Duplessis, I've given you permission to talk. Please unmute and go ahead. Aurelia Duplessis, please continue. You are unmuted, so you can continue to talk or ask your question. You have muted yourself now. Yes, you are unmuted. Please proceed. Okay, just like Aisha, you seem to have a problem with your mic. I'm moving to Isaac. Isaac, I've given you permission to speak. Please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Go ahead, Isaac, you are unmuted.
Thank you. For those that are not yet connected, how do we get the profile registered?
I beg your pardon, please repeat your question.
We had hoped that the registration only takes place after this webinar. So now that it appears the portal and registration is already live, how do we get to the portal to register as service provider?
Oh, there is a link, and I think, Belinda, please say out the link. That one is easy to respond. It's been live since the 14th of December, 10th of October in 5 different offices. But let IT give you the permission to, the URL link to the website. Belinda?
Thank you. Yes, the link is https DOJ.online.justice.gov.za. And then once you've registered your individual profile, you then go to profile on your left-hand menu. Then you go to my profiles and you will see a link there that says create a new profile, which will allow you to create a service provider or entity. You will select service provider, and then you just complete the necessary information. It will validate against LPC, and then you should be registered.
All right, thank you. But I want to just further clarify if payment is permissible, on the portal as well, or do we have to still continue to pay the old way?
Payment of? Payment,
for instance, in a deceased estate, master's fee and whatever.
Oh, okay. No, in the ordinary way. At the moment, it does not handle payment, but this is something that is on future phases of the system.
All right. Thank you so much. That will be all.
It's a pleasure. I am now going to give Andrew an opportunity. And after Andrew, it's Elsa, it's Delphia Mpopowe, and is Nangomso after that, in that order. Please keep the questions brief so that we give other people a permission to talk as well. You are unmuted. Unmute yourself. I see. Who had I given permission to speak? Andrew. Andrew, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, good day. Thank you. Just two questions quickly. The first is just around the procedure. If a law firm wishes to register a number of candidate attorneys on this portal, is the correct steps that each of the individuals register first an individual profile, including the practice partner, and then the practice partner registers a service provider for the law firm, and then invites each of the individual users to operate as users of that law firm's service provider account?
I'm going to give your question to Ms. Fenter as well. And there are two parts to your question. The second part of it will be responded to by Belinda. Ms. Fenter, please note that question, but this is now the admin rights as well as the registration of candidate attorneys. But just a second, Andrew, the candidate attorneys would then still be verified against the LPC. My understanding is they would not be registered as legal practitioners yet, am I correct?
I would think so, because you were not only registered as an attorney post being a candidate attorney.
Post your board exam, yes, or passing that. So that would then mean that they could not be verified against the LPC of legal practitioners, but the firm would be able to be verified. But I just want Ms. Fenter to answer that question as regards administrators on the system, how we would then capture candidate attorneys on the system and how many profiles need to be created. Ms. Fenter, you've got that. So far we've got two questions. Thank you, Andrew. We'll answer your question.
I've just got one final question. It was just regarding matters that have already been submitted to the master, say quite recently in the last month or two, where let's say we haven't submitted all the correct documentation or there's some fundamental elements missing. Would those have already been created as new estates in master's profile, or would we have the opportunity to now essentially restart those procedures online if we haven't received a letter of executorship or even an estate number as yet?
Okay, let's quickly answer that one. If it's not been captured on the system, meaning you do not have a URN number, then you would be able to capture it online. But it is important that you withdraw the matter from the master's office where you had submitted it. However, if the matter is already registered, it would tell you that it's already registered. So you would know that whether it's registered or not.
Right, thank you.
Pleasure. Now Andrew has finished. Can I please ask Elsa, please? I'm allowing you to talk. Keep it brief. Thank you. Unmute yourself.
Hello,
Yes,
Elsa
we can
speaking.
hear.
Can you
Yes.
hear me?
We can. Please proceed.
Good. I have an estate which is nearly completed and I've got to put in the final documents. It was, of course, done before the registration system applied. Can I make an appointment to submit those documents?
Absolutely. You can make an appointment to submit those documents as the video, just so everybody knows what the webinar that we're holding would be available as a YouTube link after 2 days. So you'll be able to access it and as a point of reference, go through the videos. So Elsa, you will be able to go to the video of how to book an appointment, even if it's an old matter, and go and see a master or an estate controller that has dealt with your matter before.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. May I just ask then, I know that I have answered some of the questions. May I then give Ms. Fenter as well as Ms. Belinda to answer questions that had already been asked by Andrew and I think by Isaac, if I'm not mistaken, though I doubt that is Isaac is her name. Please, Ms. Fenter, unmute yourself.
Good morning. Yes, I did not hear the first question fully because I'm answering questions here in the background as well. But if I'm not mistaken, it is also with regards to whether service provider, the attorneys in the firm can all register. When you're an admitted attorney, you register as a service provider because you need to be verified against the LPC list that we have, but when it's a candidate attorney, as you so rightly said, they cannot register as private persons. But however, the only problem I foresee is that a private person can only do a certain number of estates in a year, or register a certain number of estates in a year. That's to try and curb fraud and people acting as agents and whatever, whilst they are not really supposed to do that. So that might be a problem. So my suggestion would be that rather the attorneys in the firm register so that as service providers, and they can then register as many estates as they want, and then most probably share the profile or whatever will work better for them to act on their behalf within the firm. I hope I answered that question. Belinda, if you can maybe add on there.
Yes, that is correct, Patrice. They will just need to, all members need to be registered as an individual prior to the service provider profile be inviting those members to their profile. The administrator, you can have up to 10 administrators per profile. So obviously for entities, it's 10 administrators, and they have the rights to invite further members. Otherwise, you will just be a member of that profile where you can act on behalf of that profile. So just to take note of that, and you can be linked as an individual to one entity and one service provider. We are currently looking at making the entities that you're allowed to be linked to 2 entities, but that is not available just yet. We are still in the process of analyzing that requirement.
Thank you very much. Nangomso, and then Bridget, Steve, and Salwa. Nangomso, I've allowed you to speak. Please unmute yourself and proceed. Nangomso, please unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay, ma'am. I had a question on registration, and it has been already answered. I would like to know, I haven't heard anything being said about the letter of executive when it is ready. How do you know that it is ready when your application has been made ready?
Okay, that is an easy one to answer. When you would know that your LOA is ready by an email or by an SMS. So if your chosen method of communication is an SMS, an email, you'll get an email. You will notice that an email is now mandatory. So you will get an email to the effect that your letter of executorship authority is available. But additionally, there's a master's portal where you can still go and search for your estate, and you will find the letter there. But ordinarily, it will come via email or SMS, or if you want it in your master's box there in the master's office, you can still collect it there.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
It's a pleasure. Steve, please proceed. I've allowed you to talk. Steve, unmute yourself. Steve?
Sorry. Yes, thank you so much. I apologize. I was trying to find the unmute button.
Okay.
This is a general question. I'm sorry if it doesn't directly relate to the online system. Our registered estate was appointed as executor and tried to open an estate late bank account at FNB. It's now been nearly 6 months, and FNB have said We have tried to verify your appointment with the master's office and we've had no response. And I just really am at my wit's end. The deceased estate transfer of the property is about to go through and I have no bank account to put the money in. Is there any possible advice? How do I get the master's office to react to FNB's correspondence and verify my appointment?
In which office is this, if I may ask?
Johannesburg.
Okay, the Master Johannesburg is online, Mr. Leonard Pule, as well as his assistant masters and estate controllers. May I then request, Steve, if you do not mind, in the chat box, as opposed to in the Q&A, in the chat box this time, if you do not mind, send your email address. We will all note your email address. May I ask Master Johannesburg to have a look at, with your URN number, the URN number that you were given for the estate, and that will be dealt with separately. And should you not receive any joy, please feel free to then send an escalation to me.
To you.
Yes.
And how do I do that?
My email address is available on the Master's website. I can type it in the chat for everyone, but it is available. I'm going to type it in now as we speak.
I'm a bit of a novice at this. Could you just remind me what the URN is?
It's the reference number that you received from the Master's office for the estate itself.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And
that's very kind. Thank you.
There is my email address, and panelists, may I ask Mr. Sibia that my email address be shared with everybody that is online, and but this is for Steve. May I repeat, it's for Steve. Should he not receive any joy from a Master's Joburg, which I'm definitely certain he will receive joy from Joburg. Thank you, Steve.
In your defense, I lay the blame squarely on FNB, who are totally incompetent. But that's another story.
Yeah, yes. I'm not going to say anything about FNB. Thank you, Steve. Joburg will definitely assist you with your query.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Salwa and Khomotso and Ronel. Salwa, I have allowed you to speak. If you can unmute, please.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. I have a estate that was, we had letters of administration issued for the estate, and subsequently an offshore account has been discovered, and now we have to apply for letters of executorship. Should I do this online, or should I just now stick to the manual system since the letters of administration were issued manually?
Who holds the account that is offshore?
It's a bank called Lombard in the UK.
Okay, let me now, Miss Fenter, I hope you've heard the question. Salwa, we will answer that as regards foreign assets.
Thank you.
Thank you. Khomotso. I have allowed Khomotso, I have allowed you to talk. Please unmute and proceed.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm well, Khomotso, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for this webinar. I just wanted to find out, does this system only relate to deceased estates, or can it be used to make appointments for trusts as well, the trust section as well?
Well, at the moment, it's only for the Guardians Fund as well as deceased estates, but nothing stops it from being extended to trusts. And ICT, you are all online. May we take that as a requirement for extension of appointment booking for trusts, please? Thank you, Khomotso. We have taken that on board.
Thank you so much. That will be all from me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ronald? I have allowed you to talk. Ronald, unmute, please. Ronald? Ronald, I think you've got technical challenges. I'm going to give you one more chance. You are unmuted according to my system. Please proceed, Ronald. Okay, I am going to pass and go to Chrissy Fantona. Allowed to talk. Please, Chrissy, unmute and go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the webinar. I just want to know, when will this become compulsory? Can we continue to...
Sorry, Chrissy, we can't hear you properly.
Okay, I repeat. Thank you very much for the webinar. I just want to know, will this online system be compulsory, or can we continue to do large documents the way we did in the past?
Chrissy, we prefer that you use the system. In the long run, we are going to switch off the manual process. Not yet, because we are still in the post-implementation support, but in the long run, 3 months from now, you may not be able to lodge manually, especially legal practitioners or people that are tech savvy and you can use technology. We are going to reserve the manual walk-in for, poor South Africans that cannot access technology or do not even know how to use technology, and the elderly by appointment. But at the moment, you can still walk into a master's office. They would assist you, but we would prefer that you lodge it online. That way, we are able to measure every single application that has come through the master's office, how long it's taken. We are also able to take measures where there has been delayed response, lack of acknowledgement, as we receive reports on a daily basis on each of the matters that are lodged online.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I know the next person is in Dibuo. And I think it's Arena Ramsey and Sarah Jane Henshaw. But I'm going to ask Ms. Fenter to respond to Salwa's question regarding foreign assets.
Yes, okay, foreign estates, if the estate has already been registered with the master, obviously you don't re-register. But in a foreign estate, there's some other documents that needs to be completed as well. For instance, the affidavit, section 25 affidavit and so on, which currently we do not have on the system. So for now, foreign estates will be registered directly with the master's office. However, as we enhance this system going forward, obviously we will start making provision for things like that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Fenter. Arena, I see Ndibu has left. Arena Ramsey, Sarah Jane Henshaw, Glynis, Anushka Mudley, in that order. Arena?
Hi, I just need to find out, I've got two questions. The first question is, can you just confirm which masters are online? And second question, when we upload a new file, it says you can invite a case member. Who would that case member be? Can that be perhaps the executor or anybody in that's pertaining to this matter that they can see what's going on? Who's that case member that we can invite?
Okay, Arena, just the first one I will answer quickly. The second one, the invitation, I might know the answer to that, but I'm going to hand it over to Belinda and Patrice to respond. Belinda first and then Patrice, should there be a need. But in terms of which master's offices that are online, all master's offices are online. All master's offices. But the second part of your question will be responded to by Ms. Fenter and Belinda. But I thank you for your question.
Thank you, Advocate. Yes, the
I'm
case.
sorry, I'm
Apologies.
taking the second question from Sarah Jane, and we'll come back to Arena's question. Sarah Jane, please unmute. We can see your picture, but we cannot hear any audio, unless it's just me. Sarah Jane? I think you might be having technical difficulties. I hear myself in the background sounding like a very old man. Sarah Jane, I'll come back to you later. Keep your hand up though. Can I please ask Glynis and then Anushka? Glynis, I've given you permission to speak. Glynis, please continue. You may unmute.
Good. My question is about an L&D lodged in the Master's Office, Johannesburg. File has been missing for the last 5 months, so it's not been examined yet. I was told you can open a duplicate in 3 months' time, which is now due. Do I go back and open a duplicate? Or do I book an appointment, or what do I do?
It depends what you can book an appointment, so you get a time slot, a designated and dedicated time slot for yourself. But I would suggest that you then visit the Master's Office by appointment to book an appointment for the duplicate file creation.
Okay, so they still have to open a duplicate file for me in order to approve the L&D.
And tell me, so you said your file went missing?
Yeah.
The L&D that you lodged, or the deceased estate file?
The deceased estate file is completely missing. So when I submitted the L&D account, obviously the file couldn't be found, and then later on the L&D also got missing.
Okay. Also, may I just ask that your specific case with the URN number, if you could just send it to Johannesburg Masters, type it in the chat box as opposed to the Q&A box for Johannesburg, with the URN number as well for the missing file, but still do book an appointment for duplicate file. If it's lost, there's nothing besides a duplicate file that they can do if they cannot find it. But I would suggest that especially for a file that cannot be cannot be retrieved, just give them 7 days so that they're able to look for your file. Maybe it might have surfaced somewhere.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Anushka?
Good day, how are you?
Well, are you?
I'm good. You're speaking to Mathati from WMN Attorneys. My question is in relation to the circumstances that one person registers the deceased estate at more than one office, and does this online system actually detect if a deceased estate was registered more than once?
Okay, got it. I might not have gotten your name properly, but may I then ask Patrice to answer Arena's question regarding the what was Arena's question about? The invitation, yes, and it's the same as Anushka's question. Patrice as well as Belinda, please answer the questions. Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't get your name, whether it's Mahlatsi or...
Yes.
Mahlatsi, okay. Please answer Arina's question as well as Mahlatsi's question. They are almost similar in nature. Thank you.
Okay,
Belinda,
yes. If you register, if you want to invite a case member, that they will only have access to that particular case. So depending on the role that you provide them when you invite the user, they must also have registered before on the portal as an individual user, but they would only have access to that particular case. So it could be read access, or otherwise it could be full rights access. With regards to the other member, the profile invite indicates that if you get invited as an individual to an entity or a service provider, you will then have access to all the cases that is linked to that service provider profile. So any case that gets registered under that service provider or entity profile, you will see those cases and have access to those cases, also depending on the rights that you have been given as an invited member. I hope that answers your question.
I'm sure it does. May we go to Dumisani Hlongwane Kovi? There is somebody called Dell User, then there's Corey Human and Aurelia. In that order, Mr. Dumisani Hlongwane, please unmute and proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. Please proceed.
Thank you. Couple of questions, please. Number one, I'm struggling as well to receive an OTP. And secondly, I'm trying to register and it says your details do not correspond with the details on the Department of Home Affairs. Please check and provide the correct details to continue with your registration. Is there any advice you can proffer?
Yes, there is. OTP as well as failed DHA validations. Belinda, you will come in. Is there anybody that's helping Belinda? May I ask Eddie to please respond to the questions on the OTP as well as failed validations? And maybe this is also similar, Belinda, you might need to just have a discussion with Mr. Hlongwane. Eddie, can I give that one to you? OTP as well as failed DHA validation?
Okay, yeah, for the failed DHA validation, what you have to do is just verify that your full names are as captured on your ID document, your green ID document or smart ID, is exactly how you've captured it on the online solution. That's for the field DHA validation. And then for the OTP, it's the same response that I think Belinda had given. What you can do is, can you send an email to DOJ&CD online support at justice.gov.za so that we can then have a look to just verify that the cell phone number that you've captured is actually correct and verify that the details that you've captured is actually correct and assist you thereabout.
Did you get that, Mr. Hlongwane, regarding the OTP? You need to send an email to our support line and they will then assist you immediately. And in terms of the validations for failed validations with DHA, you just need to ensure that you've captured your name as per your ID or as per the ID of the deceased. So the support is DOJ, DE for deceased estates, online support at justice.gov.za, no spaces. So DOJ, DE, online support at justice.gov.za. That is particularly for the OTP. and any validation questions you might have, that email would also be a valid email to send validation requests or failure queries to.
I got that. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. May I then ask Kovi, I've allowed you to speak. Please unmute and proceed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Look, I just want to clarify something. I'm not sure if it's the right forum to bring it up. You mentioned verification against legal practitioners. Now, what happens to accountants that are involved in winding up of estates? How will they be treated?
Okay, your question will be answered by Ms. Fenter. We have dealt with this question before, not in this webinar, but we've dealt with the questions from SICA members or SIBA members. So we will respond to it. Ms. Fenter will respond to your question. Thank you so much, Kovi. I just want to take the next question. Dell user, I've given you permission to speak. Please introduce yourself and proceed. Unmute yourself.
Hi, good day. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. So my question, it's more future related. So I'm aware that the system is basically only it's usable up until the point where we can query whether our LOE or LOA is available for collection. But for future, you did say that in the next 3 months you are trying to alleviate us having to go to the master's office, etc. So then you will be full blast. We'll be able to submit L&Ds, all communication will be online?
Yes. Sorry, your name?
Maira, SP Attorneys.
Oh, Maira, SE Attorneys. Yes. At the moment, the system takes you up until appointment. Obviously, that is the biggest issue, or the complaints that we've been receiving are mostly regarding appointment. However, as I indicated, in this month, we've already started, or we're starting with the analysis and design for the L&D submission. The end state, or the desired end state, is that the whole deceased estate process from appointment to finalization should be done online, with few exceptions where you would still need human interaction, which would be in the submission of an original will. Also, we can talk about the Wills Act still requires that it be signed. At the moment, we're not looking at electronic signatures yet, but this is something that for future we will be looking at. But yes, you're right. The end state is that we want the whole value chain of deceased estates to be automated.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. May I take Corey Human, Mr. Corey Human, or Miss Corey Human? You may proceed to speak. Unmute, please. Corey Human. Please unmute. You are still muted. You are still muted, Corey Human. I'm going to move to the next person, Aurelia. Aurelia, please unmute. I've given you permission to speak. Please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My question is regarding the executor. So when the training was being done, it said that you click on, is the executor renouncing, where the executor is represented by an agent. I think I misunderstood the training. That's definitely not renouncing, right? Renouncing is where the executor, as per the will, renounces. Am I correct? Or is it where an agent is assisting the executor, then you also click executor is renouncing?
Well, renunciation is obviously where the executor is saying, I will not be handling work, yes, the estate. And you are referring to which part of the training, the actual estates, deceased estates online submission, where it says that there would be a renouncing of the estate?
Of the executor, yes. I understood the training. Yeah. I understood the trainer to say that where the executor has an attorney assisting them, has an agent, then you must click renouncing, but that's legally not how we treat renouncing. Renouncing is where the executor renounces and no longer appears on the letter of executorship.
No, let me speak to that question. I'm taking it to Ms. Fenter as well as Belinda, and then they will respond. Do you have a second question?
Yes, so where an executor does renounce, they didn't show in training, what will then happen? Will there then be a screen for you to upload the nomination, the nominee's ID, the IDs of all the heirs? This will often happen.
Yes, it is there in terms of nomination forms, so it will actually trigger nomination forms that would then need to be submitted.
All right. In training, where the trainee used that a will is applicable, but she then continued on the next of kin page to fill in everything. Now, at the top of the page, it says, where there's a will, you don't fill anything on next of kin. Do we
That's
need
correct.
to populate that?
Next of kin, where there's a will, the spouse details must still be completed. Because even though there might be a will, the deceased might have been married in community or property, and there is still a portion that is due to the spouse. So the spouse details would still need to be captured, even though there is still a will. But not the next of kin per se, but it's actually spouse details. But earlier also, you would remember there was a message, a banner message that went up to say some updates have been done. And once we've made all the other necessary changes after this webinar, you'd have remembered that Komoto made a suggestion. So based on proposals, amendments, then an amended video would also be shared after this.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
It's a pleasure. There's just one question that I will just park for Belinda as well as Patrice. Thank you, Aurelia. I am going to ask, let's ask Corey Human. Let's go to Corey Human and find out if Corey is able to speak. Corey, unmute and proceed. If not, I'm going to lower your hand. Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I've got two matters. First one is also unable to get an OTP. I heard that you've given an email address, so I will write there. But I'm also not receiving any OTP. The second thing is, it bothers me that on the, I think the form for the applicant who's actually giving the first details of the deceased estate, you have put an asterisk behind the birthplace of the deceased. Now, we've found that especially with elder people passing away, it's often impossible to get that information, but if you don't put it there, you can't proceed with the application because there's an asterisk.
Okay, we did put an asterisk next to birthplace. That is something that we can look at, but I want to give it to Ms. Fenter because I think we had already spoken about this before. Corey, your question for OTP, you do know what to do. The DOJ&CD online support at justice.gov.za, but in terms of the birthplace of an elderly person, why do we have it as mandatory? I'm going to ask Patrice to respond. And after Patrice's response, Belinda, can you respond to the, actually, Patrice, also respond to the renunciation question by Aurelia, please. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, place of birth should not be compulsory.
Correct.
I'm not sure, maybe the asterisk, but it should not be compulsory. Maybe Belinda can just verify that why it is, because it shouldn't be. Nothing turns on it. With regards to renunciation, I did not get the full question there, but when an executor is nominated in a will and he renounces, then obviously he will not be appointed, and then the heirs will nominate who they want to be the executor, and that renunciation should be lodged with the master to prove that the person decided not to take up the appointment and the nominations as well. But the system will request that to be uploaded, and then you proceed accordingly. There was another question about the accountants.
Oh, yes, sorry. There was a question from Kovi regarding accountants.
Yeah, but I'm going to ask Belinda if she can maybe just answer that one. Because I know yeah.
Don't move from the platform. Aurelia's question is really regarding what is on the training video regarding renunciation. And according to him, what we've got as renunciation does not speak to the legal definition of renunciation. I think you and I, after this, must just review that little part about renunciation. And then when we amend the video later on, it can be amended if we find that it is incorrectly explains renunciation.
Yes, we can do that. We must just keep in mind that resignation is something totally different. An executor only resigns after he has been appointed. Renunciation is before he's appointed as executor. So maybe if I can just clarify that.
Yes. Let's just have a look at, but I did hear his question related to where it actually says if you're represented by an agent and you want to renounce. So some things, it's the wording that we just need to check on the video. And from there, if there's a need for an update, we'll definitely do an update. That's Aurelia. And then you've now answered Corey's question.
I requested that Belinda just maybe come in there with regards to how do they register.
Okay. Belinda?
Okay, apologies. Can I please ask Eddie if he can respond to this one?
Right. So, yeah, so in that regard, I think the scenario would be that you would, if though the accounting firm has been registered on the CIPC database, then you would then create a profile, an entity profile, and invite the different members to that profile itself. So the entity profile verification only just verifies that the body or the entity that the enterprise that you're registering exists on the CIPC database for that specific scenario. The service provider, as mentioned, is against the Legal Practice Council. So to ensure to cater for the accounting firms, I would recommend that they use the entity profile creation, and you can invite your different members that have registered individually into that profile and then transact as that profile.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I see Lorinda, Anissa Ibrahim, Mary Jane Mphahlele, Hlubi, Ivan de Villiers in that order. I am going to allow Lorinda to speak. Lorinda, please unmute and proceed. Lorinda. Okay, I'm going to move to Anissa Ibrahim. Anissa, I have allowed you to speak. Anissa Ibrahim, please unmute and proceed. Lorinda, I will come back to you.
Hello,
Anissa?
can you hear me?
Yes, we
Hello?
can. Yes, we can.
I just want to clarify. Okay, so say you've got a law firm and the law firm's got 3 attorneys. So each attorney would register their own personal profile with their ID numbers. Okay, am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you will have one is, say, the main partner would register the law firm as a service provider under his profile. Okay, then I'm just confused. I don't know if you could maybe give us an indication or show us on the webinar, how do you invite members then to the main service provider? So how would the main profile, so how would the main attorney who's got the service provider profile on his invite the other attorneys onto onto the main profile?
Okay, I think it's a simple one. I'll take the next one, but it will be either Eddie. Eddie, let me give it to Eddie. Will answer your question, but it's a very simple one. We'll just give you a detailed step. But also, if this is something that it is of interest to law firms, then we can actually make a quick video of how to invite, how to create the profile, the administration of the profile, as well as invitation of interested parties on the matter. Thanks, Anissa. We will actually do that. But Eddie will answer your question shortly. Thank you, Anissa.
Okay, thank you.
May I take Mary Jane Mphahlele? Please unmute and proceed to speak. Mary Jane. Mary Jane, please unmute.
Once we issue the summons, he has I get a wheel agent service.
I beg your pardon?
But got those summons, but because there's already
okay, please do not unmute if you are still on a different call. I do understand that attorneys are busy people. I'm going to allow Ivan de Villiers to speak. Please unmute and proceed.
Hi, good day. Thank you. Tell me, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay, cool. Currently, I'll fill in the forms by hand. Typing is not one of my biggest assets. Can I still fill in the forms by hand and submit that?
Yes, you can. Look, once you are online, the information will be pre-populated onto the forms, but nothing stops you from having a hand-filled form and uploading it, that is signed, and uploading it onto your matter.
Thank you. And then my second question is the 42.2 that we currently submit, obviously by hand or take it to the master. Can we submit that also via the system?
Ms. Fenter, did we cater for endorsements?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet, Ivan, not yet.
Okay, so we must take it in personally. Thank you very much.
Yes, but that is something, again, that we will take on board in terms of future development.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. I am going to now, in a nice order, Lorinda, I'm going to give you permission now to speak. And let's check. I know, Anissa, your question remains unanswered. Lorinda, please unmute. If you can't unmute this time, then I'm going to lower your hand. Okay, I see you cannot. While I remove what you call it, I'm going to lower Lorinda's hand. I now have Emran Dasso, Natalie, Anastasia, and Asande in that order. But before you start, before I give you, Emran, permission to speak, I'm going to ask Eddie to respond to Anissa's question in terms of invitation of attorneys to a profile. Eddie, please respond to Anissa's question. How do they manage a profile?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's correct. So in terms of profile management, and I'll just take it back to the context of the scenario that you gave, where you have 3 legal practitioners in a specific law firm. You've got the main partner and then 2 other associates. So all 3 of them will go through the normal registration, individual registration and verification process. The main partner will then create the service provider profile under the law firm. And after that's created, the main partner that has created that profile would have the administrative rights, which then gives them access to invite other members to that profile. It's worth noting that those members would have had to have gone through the registration and verification process. Once they are invited, then they will also go through a verification process to also verify that those legal practitioners are actually practicing for that specific service provider law firm that has been created. Once it's been verified, they will then have access to the profile, and then they can transact on that profile using the switch profile feature. So that's it, essentially the steps, for that.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I hope Anissa has gotten that response. But I think what might just become necessary, and that is to ICT colleagues, is just a mini video on the profile management, the invitation of other members, as well as what is possible on that profile. So I think let's just take it on board. It will be a very short video, but I think it might actually assist legal practitioners as well as accountants in managing entity or law firm profiles. Thank you, Eddie. Emran, Natalie, Anastasia, Asande, and Atisha Gela. I'm going to allow Emran to speak. Emran, please unmute and proceed.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Oh.
I didn't get what the previous gentleman said regarding the invitation of profiles for like candidates and that, because it was breaking up. Is it possible to just repeat that, please?
Okay. Was that going to be your question?
No, I have another 2 or 3 questions.
Okay, rather ask all your questions, and then
Okay.
Eddie will repeat invitation message or a response. Please ask your questions.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask firstly that how do attorneys who trade as sole proprietors register, since they don't? I don't think they have SIP-C numbers.
Like an attorney.
Yes. How would the attorneys? Because remember, you have to first register as an individual, and then afterwards you'll then register as a service provider. So yeah, that's what I wanted to know. That was my first question, and then my second question was, am I correct in? Do service providers also make appointments at the master's office, or not?
If there's a need to make an appointment, there is a complex matter that you'd like to see the master's office about, then you can make an appointment.
But for now, appointments are just at the master's office for your lodging of the L&Ds and so forth. Am I correct? Because the system only allows up to the letters of authority or executorship. That's all that the system allows for till now, or for now.
So at the moment, it allows you to make an appointment for a general query as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. No, that's fine. And then if Eddie could just repeat his what he had said about about inviting candidate legal practitioners, because I understood the first part. I know that even for CLPs, you have to be an individual first, and then only can you get invited by the main member. So
yes, but for legal practitioners, the validation doesn't go against SIP-Cs, so it will be LPC. But I will ask Eddie to repeat the response. Thank you, Emran. I want to take Natalie next. And
Will
then
you just answer the question regarding the sole proprietor registration, please?
so
Okay,
I've
thank
got
you.
the sole proprietor registration and Eddie to repeat as well. So I've got your questions. May I ask Natalie, please unmute and proceed. Natalie, unmute and proceed. I hope
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
I have given you permission. Yes, please continue.
Hello.
Natalie, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Hi. Hi there. The same question. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, but my concern is my boss is obviously she's a legal practitioner, so she's registered with all what she needs to be registered with. But I am a secretary. So now how does that, where does that leave me?
Okay, that is under administration of the profile. You may actually administer the profile. You may be invited on a matter, but I will also leave that question is almost similar to the profile maintenance, Natalie. So Eddie as well as Belinda will answer that question, but you will definitely still be involved in the matters.
So and the other part of that same question is now we have a new deceased estate. Now, my boss, would she have to capture everything, or what happens there? Can it go to the person who's actually employed
as long
to
as
do
they've
that
been
job?
invited on the matter, it can go to
Okay.
anybody. Your
All
boss
right.
would not necessarily need to capture deceased estates if they've appointed people to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And we have a brand new estate, and all the documentation has all been done. Is it still fine for this one to still send it manually?
Have you already submitted to the master's office?
Not yet.
You can do it online. Which master's office has jurisdiction?
Durban.
No, the Master Durban is online. Mr. Pasco is also online. I believe you can do it online.
Okay. And Peter Marisburg Master's Office, are they online?
They're online, but with PMB, we still have to sit with them for training interventions. So I would suggest that give us a week with PMB, but everybody else is fine.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So your questions will be answered. May I give Anastasia also an opportunity to speak? Anastasia, please unmute and proceed. Anastasia, please proceed. Here, I see you have a challenge with your speaker. I'm going to mute you for now. I will return to you. Asande, I've given you permission to speak. Please proceed. Asande? Asande, I see you also have challenges. I will come back to you. Same as Anastasia. And I'm lastly moving to Atisha Geller. Atisha Geller, please proceed.
Hi, good day, Advocate. How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Just a few questions. I've obviously reported an estate at the end of last year onto the online portfolio, and now currently waiting more than 21 days for the issuance of my letters of authority. What do we do in that instance in terms of the online system?
Which office is it?
It's the Durban office.
Durban office. Can I ask Mr. Sibia to elevate Durban Master, Mr. Edric Pasco, onto being a panelist? Atisha, Mr. Pasco is online. He will then respond to you specifically. Mr. Sibia, please elevate Edric Pasco from attendee to panelist so he can respond. Atisha, Mr. Pasco will respond directly to you.
Thank you for that. And my last question is, when you do report a estate online and you at that stage establish that the estate is valued under 250,000, and then you obviously get issued the letters of authority online via the SMS or the email system, what then happens when the estate is then established to be valued over 250? How would one then go about using the online system to convert that into a letters of executorship?
So you would know originally an 18.3 would close once a letter of authority has been issued. So what will be released, I think, right at the end of January or mid, Belinda, please correct me if I'm wrong, mid-February is amendments to an estate. So you will be able to amend an 18.3 where an LOA has been issued. We will then withdraw or rescind the issuance of an LOA, and we will then issue a new one based now on a different estate.
Will one then have to re-lodge the documents, or would that happen automatically? What would then happen once the LOA has been issued and now I'm sitting with understanding the full value of the estate?
So you find different assets. So you go onto the estate, it will open for you, and you would be able to amend the inventory or the asset, the type of asset and estimated value of the estate to more than 250,000 Rand. When that happens, that LOA that you would have received will then automatically be rescinded on the system. So nobody can use that LOA to go and claim any benefits. What would happen is that it goes back into the master's office, and the master's office would then reassess it for a different type of estate. And
That's wonderful.
And a different letter, an LOE, would now then be issued after reassessment.
That's clear for me. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
It's a pleasure. Has Mr. Pasco been elevated? Okay, while they're still doing that, can I then ask that we answer, Eddie, we answer Imran's question, the question that he has asked. First, he was asking you to repeat the response to the invitation of members of a law firm to a profile. Then he asked, as a sole proprietor, how would he then how would his registration work, because he does not have a registration number, but as a legal he's a legal practitioner. So that is those are the questions. Then I would then ask, if I could then ask Patrice to please answer Natalie's question. Natalie asked that she's a secretary, how would then she be involved in matters? I had said she can be invited to a matter, but I think let's just provide a detailed response to Natalie. And then Atisha was asking about better than 21 days online for an LOE. If you could, that I had then asked that Mr. Pasco be elevated to be a panelist, that he can deal with the question directly. Can we start with Imran's question? Eddie, can you deal directly with the two questions, and then we go to Patrice, and then we go to Mr. Pasco. In that order, please.
Okay, I'll start with the second question, which is the sole proprietor registration. Maybe to give more context to it, there are two other types of profiles that exist on the online portal, other than your individual profile. These profiles are entity and service providers. So entity represents a company or an organization that wants to, act on behalf of a client, and the verification that is handled on that registration is against the CIPC database. The service provider then represents the legal practitioners that obviously are working for a law firm or legal practice, and the verification that happens is it's against the Legal Practice Council Board. So when you want, if you're a legal practitioner, then you must register as a service provider. It does not do any verification against the CIPC database. It only verifies against the Legal Practice Council. Okay, so you would register as a service provider. And then the first question is about how do you then administer multiple legal practitioners on a specific law firm? How would they transact on the online portal? So I go back to the same scenario I used, where you have three, let's say you've got 3 members in the firm, you've got the main partner and 2 other legal associates. All 3 of them will go through the individual registration and verification, as you've seen in the videos. And then the main partner is then going to register the service provider. In that registration of a service provider, it's going to verify against the Legal Practice Council. It's going to verify a couple of things: the firm number and the member number, to identify that that person that is registering is actually a member of the Legal Practice Council and a member associated to that legal law firm, as well as a verification on the work address that is registered on the LPC database. Right? Once that is done, then that main partner that has registered that service provider would then have the administration features where they can then invite other members. So they can then go and invite the other 2 members that have been registered to that specific profile. The same verification would be processed where they will have to specify their member numbers, so that it's verified against that firm number on the LPC database, as well as the work address to verify that they actually have access to that contact information on the LPC, just to verify that these users are actually party to that information that resides on the LPC. Once they've gotten the invitation and accepted the invitation and passed the verification, they'll then have access to that profile, and they can then transact on that profile using the switching of profile feature that exists. Okay.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I hope that answers that question. Patrice, I am a secretary in a law firm. How do I then get involved in matters?
I think Eddie actually answered that question as well.
Yes,
so
he did.
It's exactly the same way. You register and then you are invited to the service provider on the case to work there.
Thank you. And is Mr. Pasco been elevated? Mr. Pasco, you have been. Please proceed. Atisha Gella's question regarding greater than 21 days. And on the online, it would have been actually it would assist if she gave you a URN, because we could all check, but please proceed, Mr. Pasco.
Okay, yes, thank you. It would appear from our side we don't have any outstanding matters, so we would presume that she needs to just check for the reworks and see if there's a query sheet that perhaps has gone through to her that may have not yet been attended to. Failing which, she can contact me on my email address and we can deal with it directly that way.
Absolutely. I've checked the report, Atisha. The reason I wanted Mr. Pasco to respond directly to you so you can hear the master himself. I've looked at the report. There is nothing that is outstanding for Durban greater than 21 days. They have issued a number of reworks for incomplete documents or where there are outstanding requirements. So may I then ask, Atisha, that you then check, as Mr. Pasco has asked, check for the rework that might have been issued on that matter. If there is no rework and your matter still not been handled, Mr. Pasco's, Mr. Pasco's email address, it is on the DOJ website as well as mine, and you can send him a request with your URN number and we'll deal with it directly. But I have checked Durban. There are no outstanding matters greater than 21 days. We've got very few matters that are under screen application, but they've all been handled. Thank you, Mr. Pasco. Please do not leave him as a panelist. May I then we have 6 minutes left. I'm going to give two people an opportunity to speak because they've had their hands raised for a long time. It is Sizakele, Priscilla Zungu, and Louisa. If you could please just be brief with your questions, then we would be wrapping up. As promised, this would be available as a YouTube link, and there would be a YouTube video of all the training videos. Then we will also look into creating a video regarding profile management specifically. I'm going to allow Sizakele, please speak. Sizakele.
Hello.
Yes, is that doesn't sound like Sizakele Priscilla Zungu?
No, this is Rina speaking.
Oh, what happened? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, my question is, I also have a matter that I've reported in the on the system for Cape Town. I've listened now to the response that was given by Durban's master with no outstanding matters. I did check the system to see if there was anything outstanding or queries raised on my matter. I've registered it on the 29th of December. There's no response on the system from the Cape Town office.
Is it Rina?
Yes, it's Rina.
Rina, I can confirm that Cape Town does have quite a lot of outstanding matters. They've had issues with capacity. In actual fact, we were in Cape Town just last week, Friday. So I can confirm that Cape Town does have matters. So it might not be because of a rework. It might be because they've not gotten to your matter yet. Ms. Gullis, you are online. Can we take note of this matter? Can you send me your URN number?
Yes, where do I send it?
To my email address, which you will find on the DOJ portal. Kanyani Matibe or it's KAN Matibe at justice.gov.za.
Okay, I will send it. Then another thing I just want to know, I was trying to do a appointment booking on the system, and I put my URN number in, but it keeps on saying that it's incorrect. I've tried all the ways, but it doesn't want to accept it. It keeps on saying it's incorrect.
Can you just log an incident on the incident logging platform and say IT related, and or even use the DOJ DE online support, but I believe this would be able to deal with. Rina, are you on our WhatsApp platform?
The one that's on no.
Okay, then please use the DOJ DE online support or use the incident logging on the system to report the error message you get for your URN number.
Okay, Belinda did tell me to go to the incident locking feature, but I can't find it. So sorry, if you can just direct me to that.
Okay, may I ask that you use the DOJ DE online support at justice.gov.za, and it would still, Belinda, it's Rina, and it's a Cape Town matter.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We've got 1 minute left, and may I give Sizakele permission to speak, then Louisa. Very quickly, Sizakele, unmute. Sizakele? Okay, you have an issue with your mic, Sizakele. I'm going to ask Louisa very quickly. Louisa, please unmute and proceed. Louisa, you are still muted. Okay, That brings us to the end of our webinar. And I would like to thank everybody for the participation in our webinar and we started with 2,300 people online, and I'm happy to say we still have 1,230 odd people online. I'd like to thank you for your attentiveness. Should there be any issues where you are still unclear, please feel free to use the DOJ DE online support email address, or where you have matters where you that are outstanding for a very long time, you are welcome to send me an email. As indicated, this webinar will be available on YouTube, and also there would be YouTube videos that are also available for training purposes and for further reference. This would also include the presentation that I shared with you earlier in the webinar. Let me thank everybody, the panelists and colleagues that have helped in responding to questions, as well as the Q&A chat box, and all the colleagues that are online, legal professionals, accountants, fiduciary professionals, and any of our banking industry colleagues. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely day further. Goodbye.